Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Great America Show. It's great to have you with us. Thank you so much for spending part of your night with us tonight. Some great economic numbers coming out of the Department of Labor this afternoon. Really terrific. Despite all the Democrats, the mainstream media, the Marxist leftists, even the rhinos, telling us that Donald Trump was going to send this thing into a recession. Donald Trump was going to spiral the economy. We're going to be spending 145% more on cars or anything that's imported. We all know that wasn't the truth, at least those of us here on the Great America Show. But if you tune into Fox Business, Larry Kudlow was telling you for months that President Trump's tariffs were going to drive inflation through the roof. It's nice that we have receipts these days, but like I said, it's not just the rhinos, it's not just the Marxists, it's not just the mainstream media. It's people on the right, or they say the right, like I just said, Larry Kudlow. So what do we have? What numbers do we have for April? Overall consumer prices increased only 2.3% from a year earlier, not that 100% that they told us, down from the 2.4% the previous month. Also, folks, the lowest annual increase since February of 2021. Inflation also ticking down. So what happened? They told us this thing was going to go into a recession, that we were spiraling, the economy was in the hole, tariffs were going to ruin it. We had Rand Paul in the Senate telling us that he was going to go out against President Trump's tariffs. None of that was true. They made the whole thing up. It's truly remarkable. But I think a lot of us have smartened up to not believe the fear, not believe the fear mongering of what these people have done. Every aspect this week, they're fear mongering about President Trump accepting a 747 jet from Qatar. You listen to Ben Shapiro, it's the end of the world. You can't take it from Qatar. You can't accept a gift from Qatar. You're an anti-Semite if you do that. Truly remarkable how you tie one thing to the other, but that's the world we're living. President Trump is over in the Middle East right now, addressing packed houses, all stops along the way. In his first speech in Saudi Arabia, he took a blowtorch to the neocons of the world, to the people who have been trying to push us into war, and nonstop have they been doing it. Take a listen to President Trump, his first address over in the Middle East.
And it's crucial for the wider world to note this great transformation has not come from Western interventionists or flying people in beautiful planes giving you lectures on how to live and how to govern your own affairs. No, the gleaming marvels of Riyadh and Abu Dhabi were not created by the so-called nation builders, neocons, or liberal nonprofits like those who spent trillions and trillions of dollars failing to develop Kabul, Baghdad, so many other cities. Instead, the birth of a modern Middle East has been brought by the people of the region themselves, the people that are right here, the people that have lived here all their lives, developing your own sovereign countries, pursuing your own unique visions and charting your own destinies in your own way. It's really incredible what you've done. In the end, the so-called nation builders wrecked far more nations than they built, and the interventionists were intervening in complex societies that they did not even understand themselves. They told you how to do it, but they had no idea how to do it themselves. Peace, prosperity, and progress ultimately came not from a radical rejection of your heritage, but rather from embracing your national traditions and embracing that same heritage that you love so dearly.
A speech like that, I think, deserves a $400 million 747 alone. I mean, how could anyone not like this guy? You've heard recently people going absolutely insane that he wants to make peace in the Middle East. He wants everyone to be friends. There's certain nations who want no part of that, and it makes you wonder why. We'll save that for another show. We've got Russ Tice, former senior NSA Intel analyst, joining us tomorrow on the Great America Show. We'll take that up with him. But it really makes you wonder what drives these people to not want peace. And I guess a large portion of it has to probably be money. The military-industrial complex go broke. They go out of business if there's no war, really. So I guess that's the reason why they're stoking, and the mainstream media, of course, loves war as well. Back here at home, the Republican Party is at war with itself, as it usually is. Rhino Mike Lawler, Republican from New York, is vowing to sink President Trump's new big, beautiful bill because it doesn't have the SALT deduction in it for New York, the state and local tax deduction. Pretty much what that is it allows New Yorkers to deduct up to $10,000 of their state and local taxes, such as property taxes. So Lawler's willing to hold President Trump accountable for the tax rates in New York. Doesn't really make much sense. Why wouldn't Mike Lawler be up in Albany fighting those people, fighting Governor Hochul? She's the one who puts our property taxes in. It's not President Trump. So you're going to sink a bill for 49 other states, 48 other states, because Jersey has it as well. You're going to sink a bill for 48 other states because your state, and it's my state too, it's New York, but I don't care. The American people deserve it with what we've gone through the last 4 years with Joe Biden. So you're going to sink this tax bill because your state has among the highest property taxes and sales tax rates in the country, second to California. Just so you know, Mike Lawler, Rhino, who's got to go. He's not the only Rhino that's got to go. Tom Tillis, a Rhino that severely needs to go over in the Senate side, blasting President Trump's plan to slash drug prices. He calls it the most favored nation policy, short-sighted and unsustainable, even though pharmaceutical and drug prices have been on the uprise for as long as time can tell. Take a listen to this Rhino in committee hearing today, vowing to take a stand against President Trump. Listen to this idiot.
Okay with, I'd like to follow your lead. If not, then I'm likely to convene it myself so that I can get everybody in the room and we can have a very transparent discussion and comprehensive discussion about how we fix the value chain and how we ultimately address this problem. The most favored nation coming out of the administration, all these other things are short-sighted, unsustainable measures that are not going to produce the result I do believe all of us on this committee want to achieve. It's not the what, but we've got a very wide range of differences on the how. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Now, we're all sitting here as laymen saying to ourselves, why would anybody in America be against drug prices? Now the pharmaceutical establishment, we could spend an hour-long show talking about insurance rates. It's the biggest scam in the world, insurance. You go to the hospital, you get an MRI. On your bill, it says $8,000, what they allegedly charge your insurance. But your insurance already has a pre-negotiated rate that they're only paying $400. The whole thing is a game of mass deception. The insurance industry, the largest lobby industry in this country, by the way, and I guess you can figure out why. The whole thing is a total scam. So us sitting here as laymen, we ask ourselves, why would Tom Tillis, why would any American be against cutting drug prices? How can anyone be against that, right? And what I simply say to you is, let's follow the money. Back in 2020, Tom Tillis took pharmaceutical money within weeks of co-sponsoring a brand new drug bill. Senator Tillis accepted more than $20,000 in campaign contributions from PAC committees to tied to pharmaceutical companies within 2 weeks of co-sponsoring a bill related to drug prices in late 2019. Tillis was the original co-sponsor of the Lower Cost, More Cures Act, which was introduced in 2019. So you say, okay, it's only $20,000, right? Nothing too crazy. Let's take a little further look. Maybe he got more money. Who knows, right? Let's look together. So here, and you folks can all check this out yourself. You don't need to take my word for it. OpenSecrets.org, I tell you guys all the time, is the best tool, I think, in Washington, D.C. It lets you find out who's getting money and where they're getting it from. So let's take a look at Tom Tillis from 2017 to 2022. And these are the top 20 industries contributing to him, whether it be individual or PAC. Retired people, securities and investment, Republican conservative, real estate. Oh, boom, lo and behold, health professionals, we'll call it $797,000. $137,900 coming from PACs. That's just health professionals. Let's go down. Let's see if maybe we find some more. Oh, we got insurance companies, $781,000, $396,000 from PACs. Commercial banks, we'll pass that one for. Oh, look at that. Pharmaceutical and healthcare products. He got $609,000. We'll call it $610,000, rounding numbers. 325,000 from PACs. Now that's 2017 to 2022. Now let's take into account real quick these health professional numbers. We've got 797,000. We've got insurance at 781, and we've got pharmaceuticals at 609. Okay, let's look now in more recent times, see if those numbers went up or if they went down, because that may be why Tom Tillis is doing what he's doing. Health professionals, look at that. So we were at 797,000 total for the years 2017 to 2022. Let's take a look now. We're at 905,000. So he's stepped it up a little bit. Insurance companies were at 781. They're now at 862. Very interesting. And pharmaceutical and healthcare products, we were at 609. We're now at 727. So if you just follow the money trail, folks, like I said, you don't have to take my word for it. OpenSecrets.org. You guys can get all the information you need to know. It's where he's getting his money. It's clear that Tom Tillis is bought by the health industry, the healthcare industry. The man is a total snake in the ground. But it's not just this issue that he's on the other side of history about. We've got another issue. He sank the nomination of Ed Martin, the D.C. U.S. attorney, the attorney general, the attorney for D.C. He sunk his nomination because of January 6thers. Now, Ed Martin's been a complete champ about it, but telling Breitbart News that President Trump wanted him to do the job, but Tom Tillis single-handedly blocked it. Quote, I respect the process I was supposed to go through the Senate. I was surprised that Tom Tillis would say publicly that he would block me for any position in the country, but D.C. You know, that's what he said. I don't understand that. When I met with him, it was 90 minutes. He clearly has a problem with January 6th. I mean, this guy is a total rhino. You don't hear any backlash from this man on anything other than that. What did he take such issue with? This is the problem, folks. We allow these rhinos to get away with this kind of thing, and they continue to. They're going to sink the Republican Party, and as I often say on this show, there is no Republican Party anymore. The factions inside the Republican Party is the MAGA wing, and it's the rhino wing, and that's it. If we allow these people to keep doing this behavior and keep allowing them to get away with it, they will take over the America First Party of the Republican Party, the wing of the Republican Party. Don't make any mistake about it. You just wait and see. Folks, we were supposed to have a great panel on here today. We have one half of the great panel. One of them called in sick, Robert Cahaley. So we're going to reschedule it for next week. But we have my good friend joining us in just a moment, the great Mark Mitchell, leading pollster for Rasmussen Reports, among the top pollsters in the country. In my opinion, he's number one out of the top three.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. You know, I've got all your MyPillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, MyPillows, towels, slippers, blankets.
I'm interrupting this commercial to do something I've never done before. Get 2 MyPillows absolutely free on orders of $100 or more. I can't do this forever, so get on board with this great sale today. Our best-selling 6-piece bath towel sets or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Our famous standard MyPillows only $14.98. Queens $18.98. King size only $1 more. Body pillows $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bed sheet sets. Any size, any color. So go to MyPillow.com or call that number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And when you spend $100 or more, get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
Mark Mitchell, as always, it's a delight. Robert Cahaley couldn't make it this week. He's dealing with some sickness, but he'll be with us hopefully next week when we bring this panel back and do it. I want to start with first Tom Tillis. It's so interesting, Mark, that Tom Tillis was against Ed Martin for January 6th, and now he's against Trump's cutting pharmaceutical prices, and we go look at the receipts, and things just don't seem to add up.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. these rhinos are not ready for the new paradigm where Twitter is not consuming the mainstream media narrative like they were in the past. And that includes the stuff coming from Fox News, as you well know, because Tom Tillis could have just done like a nice little Hannity set, right? And then everybody be like, oh, it's fine. Look at this clip. He talked really tough and blah, blah, blah. And now he's getting ratioed all over Twitter. People are going to fund his primary. And they're coming for him. And the trend I'm seeing and stuff that I'm finding is that turns out Farmer really hates Ed Martin, because Ed Martin has been actually advocating Trump's pricing plans going all the way back to 2020. So Tom Tillis can make a nice little story for himself about January 6th. But it turns out if Pharma funds Tom Tillis, which you showed it does, and Pharma hates Ed Martin, then Tom Tillis is going to hate Ed Martin too. And that's exactly what we're seeing, and everybody knows it.
Yeah, I mean, taking upwards of, in the first election cycle, $3 to $4 million, the second election cycle, $5 to $6 million in pharma money, and it's the largest lobbying group in the world. And everyone, I think, has questioned pharmaceuticals for a very long time. And whether it be the simple example I gave, you go to a doctor, Mark, you get an X-ray or an MRI. They tell you it's $8,000. They bill your insurance $8,000, but there was already a pre-negotiated price that they're only paying $400 and they're only charging you $100. Why not just be honest with the people in the first place and say, this is what it is? We're not a bunch of sleazy scumbag liars. We're honest with you, and we're not going to be the largest lobbying group in America anymore. Like, what?
Pharma is a big, 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 big business. Big business, like $1 trillion business in the U.S. It's got one of the fastest growing market size rates of any industry. It's taking a larger and larger share of all of our expenditures, and a lot of it's taxpayer, because Medicare and that's like basically the scam, in my opinion, is that because of regulatory capture, what happens is that these pharmaceutical companies essentially just come up with a pitch. What's a really great sounding drug? And then they'll do a lot of R&D. Sure, they'll spend a lot of money, but then they work hand in glove with science and the regulators to selectively judge, in my opinion, whether this drug is effective or not, probably sweep a few side effects under the rug. They probably spend a lot of time and effort on study design, I would suspect. And what they get is that a drug that they say is going to cure all of the world's ills, and all it does is just suck up more taxpayer money and not solve any of the chronic issues we have. Not only that, it's a way of siphoning off the taxpayer donkey, because if the stats that RFK was saying about how U.S. pharmaceutical revenue is like 75% from the U.S., even though we only have 4.3% of the world's populations, like that's one more way in which all of the middle class Americans who can't put food on that table now, they're just being screwed over by the system. Yeah. Now, if you have a politician that comes and says, I'm going to completely right that ship, they're going to attack him. Like $500 billion this could be. And every other country on earth is all of a sudden not going to be able to afford these crazy expensive designer drugs. This is a massive paradigm change. And like, who knows where it's going to go? I think you're going to probably see 500 federal judges put out a temporary restraining order. Like, they can't allow this to happen. We're talking about thousands and thousands of people being laid off from all of the major companies. Like,
you don't suspect Judge Boasberg, Mark, will have a ruling for us, right?
Oh yeah, sure. I'm sure he's got a pharmaceutical company up his. Somebody, right? It's like maybe they rotate, right? We know that happens in the legislature. They take turns being the bagmen for K Street, right?
We saw there were some memes out there, Mark, when the new Pope was elected. Judge Boasberg has ordered that he is not allowed to take over being Pope, issuing a temporary restraining order. And it's only a half joke, because it's sort of true. Everything you just described right there, Mark, seemingly sounds like the COVID-19 vaccine, right? We were promised this thing was going to save lives. We know it didn't save any lives. We know it now that it may have caused some issues, and I'll leave it at that, because I don't want certain platforms to get upset. There's platforms that get I'm going to tell you a quick story on YouTube. Back when Lou was doing the show, he had on Dr. Joseph Ladapo, the Florida Surgeon General. They tokened an episode and they gave us a strike on the account as medical disinformation. So I wrote to YouTube and I said, what was the disinformation? No answer. They gave us strike, and they make you take this course on what's disinformation and what's not disinformation. So I take this course and I'm like, this is absurd. I go back and listen to the episode again, and nothing that Dr. Latipo says was disinformation. So I text Dr. Latipo, and I said, this is what it is. And he says, I demand that YouTube tell us what it was. So 2 days ago, I reach out to YouTube, the folks at YouTube, and I say, I spoke with Dr. Latipo. He's demanding, he wants to know what was said that was disinformation.
Oh, wow.
I don't hear a word, Mark. I just get a message. We've reviewed your content, and it's now back published on your page. But that's what and I sent them an email, and I said, this sets a very dangerous precedent if you come out here in America. Now, I guarantee if Joe Biden were president or Kamala Harris were president right now, that strike would still be on there.
How long ago was that strike?
It was set to come off on June 1st, but it was from a year ago or 6 months or a year ago. Yeah. It had to be. Lou passed away in July, so it was well over a year.
Yeah.
So, I'm sitting there and I'm like, this makes no sense, but this is what they did to us, Mark. This is what they did to us all during COVID. And as you had just intimated, people made a lot of money on a lot of different things, and people are going to lose jobs. And if I question one thing, it's how did Dr. Fauci, as a government employee, first of all, you're not allowed to have another job as a government employee, right? It's illegal, okay? Which is why Donald Trump did that whole mass layoff thing. He said, there's people who aren't coming to work who are working other jobs and they're working for the government. How did Dr. Fauci, as a government employee, the highest paid government employee, make money on things outside of working for the government? If you don't question that, what do you question?
We had a phrase back in the Naval Academy: you rate what you skate. Yeah. Do what you can get away with, and it looks like people are able to get away with a lot. And I'm serious. Regulatory capture is a really big problem. I was asking Grok some stuff, and I recall it saying that the share of our GDP that gets spent on pharmaceutical drugs increased like 4x just in the last 40, 50 years. So, and we know that all the health outcomes have gotten absolutely worse and worse. And so who knows, there's probably a dotted line to like some type of medical tyranny, because we came pretty close. Like if they tried to force experimental mRNA vaccines on everybody, 50 years from now, maybe half of the schedule is mRNA vaccines, and you get shut off. Your little account gets shut off if you don't take them. Or maybe every single person's got to get issued a CPAP, a statin, and your Ozempic when you turn 18 in order to register for the selective service. Who knows? But that's probably what Pfizer wants. It's probably what Novo Nordisk wants. And it turns out that they get better representation in Congress than, Joe Sixpack.
That's true. Well, for those people now on Ozempic, they're going to be very happy because the price of it should come down a little bit. I don't know if you heard the story Trump telling the other day about his friend who's on it. I think I know exactly who he's talking about, and I won't say the man's name. But
come on. Oh, no.
I'll just say he owns a very big radio station in New York City, and he happens to own a very successful grocery store.
Okay.
It's not a joke.
Okay. All right.
But I've went through the list of New York billionaires, and I've tried to figure it out, and I'm like 99% sure that's who it is. So,
it fits.
Yeah, right. Because it ain't working. We won't hurt anyone's feelings, right? I could use some myself, but so the thing that's interesting to me is, Mark, is nobody's questioned over the course of the last 10 years, the last 20 years, how we've gotten to this point, right? How we've gotten to the point where 26% of our pharmaceuticals are made in Europe, 18% of our pharmaceuticals are made in India, 2% of them are made in Canada, 13% of them are made in China, 13% of them are made elsewhere in the world, and just 28% of them are made here in America. Instead of being mad, Tom Tillis and all the rest of the people, John Cornyn, why are we not questioning who was it who decided to ship our pharmaceuticals overseas, the things like most critical to this nation?
Yeah, I mean, everybody did it. Both parties, the establishment, and all the corporations, both hands and both feet. That's what they were doing for decades.
I would argue too. I blame a lot on the Democrats because they deserve the blame. Okay, but the Republican rhinos have done far as much damage as the Democrats have done in this country. I mean, something as simple as securing our border. Remember George Bush? He ran on, and I was a kid at the time, but I remember because my father was very political. George Bush vowed to secure our border. And he sent down their containers, those shipping containers, Mark, that they ship overseas, old rusted out containers, old rusted barbed wire fence filled with tetanus. I mean, this is what securing the border was. And everyone, you were a little bit older than me at the time, so you probably remember it better than me. But this is what everyone accepted, right? Everyone accepted the Iraq war as normal. This was what's supposed to happen in this country, right? This is all normal, Mark. This is a secure border. And this war is totally justified in Iraq.
Yeah, everybody fell for it. The vote, what did like 3 people vote against the war in Iraq?
Yeah.
And I think it's institutional trust was a lot higher back then, and they've lost it. And Biden was basically the shove that pushed it over the cliff, because I don't think anybody's going to fall for, let me rephrase that. Some people fell for some stuff with Russia and Ukraine. I will give them that. But I don't think there's putting any toothpaste back in this tube. The Republican Party is so transparent, and I don't think any of this rhetoric is going to get walked back. I mean, at this point, I basically assume that the decisions every single one of them makes is coming from the big business country club Republican lobby, the club from growth thing, because they've been completely captured.
How do we get ourselves out of that, Mark?
They can prove us wrong. You know how they prove us wrong? Mike Johnson, John Thune could come together this week even and pass a 1-page bill that mandates E-Verify. You pass a federal E-Verify mandate, and I will say, okay, you know what? Maybe big business Republicans aren't a thing anymore, but they're not going to. It's overwhelmingly popular with everybody, including Democrats. And so there's no reason that people shouldn't get it. The system exists. It's not like it's really going to cost any money. Just mandate it.
Yeah. Well, you know what would happen, Mark, is like 99% of the restaurants in New York City, their kitchen staff would be cleared out. But that's fine.
You know, be able to get a nanny. Like
right. Yeah. You know what, Mark? Everyone says we need our business. We need illegals to run our business. Otherwise, we can't survive. We can't make money. Well, how did you do it 20 years ago, 25 years ago, when illegal immigration was not what it is today, right? When we didn't have 20, 30, maybe million illegals in this country, illegal aliens. Yeah. How did you do it back then? Because people are making more money now, Mark, than they've ever made in their life. I understand prices are more, but if you look at prices from where they are from 2000 to 2025, it's nowhere near as inflationary as it was from 1918 to say 1970, right? So people are making more money now. How were they able to do it in the early 2000s? I'll tell you what it was, and you give me your sense on this. It's greed. People want the most amount of money they could possibly make. Doesn't matter at whose expense.
Yeah. Yeah, no, fair enough. It's like profits first, no aspects of ethics. Everybody's doing it. Capitalism worship. Listen, I like capitalism, but there needs to be a fundamental aspect of ethics behind it. And if there isn't, there needs to be forces within the government that look out for the best interests of people. And this might be a risque thing to say, but for decades, we've had a fifth column in our government that's been doing extrajudicial things to undermine our Western society.
Right.
And they do it. They attack our own way of living. They attack our culture, and they've done it. And we all have to speculate about for whatever reasons. But why does it seem like such an insane thing that we don't have black ops and psychological warfare trying to make us more cohesive and culturally assimilated? Why is that such a mind blower? And it all comes back to like literally everybody's thrown their integrity and ethics away. I'll tell you what, and the argument that makes me so mad too is especially you'll see it in the mainstream media. Well, these people, Americans, they don't want to do manufacturing jobs. And in my opinion, that shows such a lack of respect for the intelligence of people in America. You know, my wife's family, the most wealthy person in her family, he retired with like $1.5 million in the bank, was a blue collar worker, owned his house, did a really good job for himself, lived happy and comfortably. He turned wrenches on a GM manufacturing line. Yeah. He had an excellent career. He had a union that looked out for him. And I'm not a big union guy, but maybe like at some point we need to use them because like government has not been looking out for the people. It's been undermining them. It's disgusting.
I agree with you 100%, and I say it on the show all the time, Mark. I have more respect for a blue-collar worker who's turning a wrench in a facility, who's installing an air conditioning on a roof, who's fixing someone's plumbing system or their than I do for anybody on Wall Street, because those are the people with blood sweat. And if you think about it, Mark, it's not really much to think about. We're not here today without blue-collar workers. We're not here on this system right here without blue-collar workers. There are some smart tech people who built it together, but it's the blue collar people who made it happen. We're not driving our cars on the road, right? We're not driving on a road, period. Okay. We're not playing golf on a golf. It doesn't matter. You're not going to the bathroom. The list goes on. Blue collar workers are what makes this country. Okay. And it's what makes every single country.
Well, even not blue collar too. Just think about the environment back in the 50s and 60s. There was like a rush for managers and smart people. Okay. Yeah. There was a shortage of labor. People mostly lived in their community. There wasn't essentially the equivalent of like Tinder for resumes back then. And so what happened is it took a while to train these people. And so you started at the bottom in a corporation, you worked your way to the top, they invested in you and you got a pension and you stayed with them their whole career.
Yes.
Now, the fact that basically, and again, it goes two ways, because a lot of people take a job and they're already looking for a better salary in 2 years. Like, I know it goes two ways, but every single major corporation essentially treats workers completely expendably, and they are essentially hired only for very specific knowledge or very specific attributes. And this idea of caring for people is completely gone. And so, in my opinion, that needs to be restored. But in that environment, like, think about, everybody says, oh, they won't do the manufacturing jobs. That's right. Not at this price. But you know what makes the price go up? A shortage of people to do the work, because the manufacturing comes back. Yep. And that's really bad if you're a super big billionaire that has a massive distribution network or trucking company or manufacturing company, because all of a sudden you're going to have to pay people what they're worth. All of a sudden you're going to have to invest in people and make them happy so they're not jumping ship after 2 years. It's a complete reversal from the direction that we've been going, which is like, we know it's like globo homo. It's like all of the power is concentrated at the top. It's like the C-suite interfaces with the government, interfaces with regulation to maximize rent-seeking behavior, and it's got to stop.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I want to hit on something that you mentioned. Also, the kids now today, everyone thinks they're going into a company, Mark, is the next CEO, right? And I mean, coming out of college, I guess you have that mindset. And if you don't have somebody to humble you, I can see how you have that. I'll never forget, Mark, the first time I went on Fox News for Lou Dobbs reporting on his show. I come back in and I was probably a little arrogant, right? I was a 25-year-old kid who just went on national television. I'd never been on television before. My background trade is as an airline pilot. So I'm like, pretty damn cool, right? So, and I'll never forget, man, that just as happy as I was to be on air that day, is Lou Dobbs stepped on the back of my head and said, who the hell do you think you are, big shot? And, if you don't have somebody like that in your life to humble you, things can get really out of control. And I'm forever grateful that I had that man to keep me in line and keep me humble throughout an entire, process.
Yeah.
Unions. You mentioned unions. This is one that's perhaps the most surprising to me. I keep mentioning over the last 10 years. And the reason I'm using that time frame is from when President Trump came into the spotlight, right? This thing that's been so surprising to me is how lackadaisical and how much on the sidelines these unions have been. In fact, still supporting Democrats when they know damn well, right? And people will say, well, it's the union bosses. Okay, well, who votes in the union bosses? They don't just assume power. It's not a dictatorship. You vote them in, right? That's how a union works. How these union bosses, time and time again, still support Democrats. They're taking your jobs, they're taking your labor, they're driving your labors down. And if you didn't have like deep blue cities like New York to protect unions doing jobs, you would have no work at all. Yet these people sit on the sidelines and are like, yeah, come on in, illegal, come take this job. Underbid it by $50,000, it's yours, no problem.
Yeah, I'm so conflicted because I love the need for unions as a feedback mechanism to control capitalistic overreach for sure. And they've had a huge impact. And I don't want to blame unions too heavily because everything.
No, it's not the unions. It's the upper echelons of the unions.
Right. Well, it ultimately comes back to the kleptocracy in that they have literally corrupted every power lever, including academia, church denominations, the papacy, like literally everything has been corrupted in a pursuit to maintain power. And so, of course, unions are going to be as well. And I don't know how, I really don't know how you reverse that. But it's all got to change. It's been going in the wrong direction, and we all know it now. And now things are. Listen, I want these jobs to come back. I would love to lead a manufacturing organization. It probably pays a heck of a lot better than polling, right? Because there's no money in this industry. I can tell you that right now, and it'll all be better. It sounds regressive, but progress hasn't worked, and so there are things that we have to get back to, and we all know it.
I think what people need to realize, Mark, is that everyone has a purpose on this world, right? And everyone's voice matters. Think about how many Trump voters went out there in 2016 and said, or how many Trump voters stood home, Mark, and said, my vote doesn't count. It's only one. Okay. But the simple game of addition, Mark, of 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 it adds up in numbers. And I think a lot of people don't realize that. And it's all of us that we don't realize, sometimes I sit here and say, I come out here and I do a podcast for a few million people. It's only a few million people. Am I really moving the needle on things? Am I really doing this? And I'll get calls sometimes from big people that they heard this or that they listened to this or that the president tuned into my show that night. And it makes you feel like what you're doing is worthwhile, and it is. But I feel like there's too many people who have gotten complacent and just said, I'm just another person in this country of a few billion people, this world of a few billion people. Do I really matter?
Well, I think people are waking up from that, and this is a very positive thing. You mentioned what it was like back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, back then and how work environment has changed and there's less mentorship and it's not really a mentoring relationship anymore. And I would say, well, in my opinion, working in corporate America, there aren't a ton of people who I think are good role models either. Basically, everybody's gravitated towards what a global homo manager is, and it's not necessarily somebody that's going to have the uncomfortable conversations with you. It's probably somebody that's going to pass you over because of check boxes, because they worship DEI or something like that. But when I was growing up, there were a hell of a lot of unagreeable men, just totally jerks that would, like Lou Dobbs did to you. It's like scout leaders, male teachers. Like most people were not trying to be your friend. And even the women teacher, they just acted completely different. There was this idea of like shared cultural values and integrity and like the idea that everybody has a responsibility to like raise children correctly. And that's gone. That's completely gone. Part of it is because they've completely undercut masculinity. Yep. And what I come back to is like, we all know that it's been a full spectrum warfare on American culture. They've done it through entertainment. They've done it through the corporate workplace. They've done it through like every brand of politics. And now people are really pissed off and there is blowback and you're starting to see it. And I'll just give you one example. And this completely blows my mind. We poll a lot on race relations and issues. And when I was growing up, I don't really remember, like we've talked about this before, like it felt pretty post-racial, in my opinion, back in the 80s and 90s. And maybe I was wrong. I don't know. But then it was like super sensitized. Everybody cared. It was literally permeated everything. And now only like 12% of people are very concerned that somebody's going to call them a racist. Now you have like literally as we speak, trending on TikTok, and you're not going to see it in the mainstream media. You're not going to see it on Facebook, probably not going to see it on Twitter either. Black fatigue is trending, massively trending. You can see it in the Google search volume just in the last week.
What does that even mean?
It's going viral right now. Well, people are trying to take control of what that means, and Google will give you the wrong answer. There's a very good Mark Dice video talking about it, but this is a lot of African Americans posting videos about how they're sick of the way that some of the members in their community behave. And it's obviously striking a chord with people if it's going so viral. And so, and we talked about how like words like APAC were trending on Twitter yesterday. And so all of a sudden conversations are happening that have been bottled up for a really long time. And it's going to have public opinion ramifications, not really sure how. When you repress and censor people and put all this stuff and like into dark corners and tell them they're not allowed to discuss it, it's like you can't do that to humans. Like they're going to want to explore ideas. And now we are. And it's the same thing that's happening to the rhinos. They can't control the conversation right now. I posted a tweet about Tom Tillis just like 10 minutes ago, and it's like ripping right now. Like everybody's like, wow, that's great. Tom Tillis is now against the farmer price executive order, but he's taken a ton of pharma money on brand. Like 600 likes in like a half hour. It's incredible. So, yeah.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
We were talking about something else, and I'm actually going to play this video because you're right. There's come a time where like there's sort of some sort of intolerance, right, of what we're allowed to talk about and what you're not allowed to talk about. And if you talk about a certain thing, you're a racist, you're a xenophobe, you're a misogynist, whatever it is. The newest one is you're now an anti-Semite if you decide that you oppose there being some sort of new war in the Middle East that involves Iran and involves America. And I'm going to pull this video up here because I think it's important for the American people to have the dialect, Mark, to be able to have this conversation without having to worry about being called an anti-Semite or without having to worry about any of that stuff. Here, I'm going to roll this video. This is a Ben Shapiro having a total meltdown and a total fit about President Trump getting that Boeing aircraft from Qatar.
The Trump administration is now preparing to accept a super luxury Boeing 747-8 jumbo jet from the royal family of Qatar. It is a $400 million gift available for use by President Trump as new Air Force One until shortly before he leaves office, at which time, according to the deal, the plane doesn't stay with the United States government. It then moves to the Trump Presidential Library Foundation, taking sacks of goodies from people who support Hamas, the Muslim Brotherhood, Al Jazeera, all the rest. That's not America first. Like, please define America first in a way that says you should take sacks of cash from the Qatari royals who are behind Al Jazeera. It just isn't America first in any conceivable way. So back to the original question. Is this good for President Trump? Is it good for his agenda? Is it good for draining the swamp and getting things done? The answer is no, it isn't. It isn't. If you want President Trump to succeed, this kind of skeezy stuff needs to stop. The Trump administration is now preparing to accept a super luxury Boeing 747-8 jumbo jet.
I mean, it's just totally absurd. So what is America first, Ben Shapiro? Is it America starting a war with Iran because you want us to? Because you want us to send American troops? I got some news for Ben Shapiro because I didn't hear him talking about it, Mark, in 2008, in 2010, in 2012, in 2014, 16, when literally every single U.S. president had arms deals with Qatar or Saudi Arabia. I didn't hear him having a problem with it then, sending weapons, right? There was no issues there. Now, all of a sudden, it's an issue because Donald Trump does not want to go to war with Iran. That's what the issue is, Mark. And little Ben Shapiro wants to now hide behind every sort of little thing he could possibly do. And Tucker Carlson called him out for this, that pretty much he's just this massive war hawk who is Israel first and not America first. What is America first in his eyes, Mark?
That's a really good question. But what I'll tell you is that it appears to be not in the best interest of their own business, because they appear to be shedding people left and right, major talents. They have apparently had major financial issues. They've just lost a CEO. And I think it's probably not fair to point a finger directly at the conflict over Israel as the primary contributor, but it certainly was. Like, Candace Owens left the Daily Wire probably over that issue. I think it's fair to say. And looking at them, it appears that there is a very tight ship in that company where you have to be lockstep on certain issues. And you talk about America first. What's America first or not? Well, how about just intellectual dishonesty? Like, why is there certain issues where everybody has to be uniform and others there aren't? That's anti-Western civilization. You know what I mean? Like, that's the part that really rubs me. It's like, we're not allowed to be adults and have a conversation here. And again, I would dismiss him. And I honestly really don't even know what to think about this plane. Quite frankly, I don't like the idea of Donald Trump flying on it. Yeah. I think Jack Posobiec put out a pretty funny tweet. How do you even sweep something that big for bugs? Yeah. I think that's probably a fair and valid question. Maybe Trump should make the plane available to his political opponents, for them to, like Bernie Sanders, he's flying on a private jet. Well, maybe he could use this. It's a step up. That would be great. I don't know. But at the end of the day, like, the idea that we can't talk about stuff, that's the tenor of this conversation we're having. Like, that's in the rearview mirror, and it's probably not in Ben Shapiro's personal best interest to, again, he's manipulating a lot of people. He's, I think, psychologically manipulating a lot of people. I don't know enough about the state of Qatar and who it's funded or not. But, this is the president and he's taking this, and I don't know if it's good or bad, but don't call it not America first. What does that have to do with the border? Yeah. What does that have to do with reorganizing our economic systems or reshoring manufacturing or getting fentanyl out of everything, right? As far as I know, Donald Trump didn't say a heck of a lot about Israel on the campaign stump, as far as I know.
Yeah, well, right. But it's got these certain people on the right going great. Mark Levin, the other night, there was a Steve Witkoff, Trump's special envoy, said a quote, the neocon element believes that war is the only way to resolve things, and POTUS believes that his force of personality, the way that he is, going to respond to situations, can bend people to do things in a way much better. I mean, that is absolutely amazing. Mark Levin tweets out, by the way, neocon is pejorative for Jew. Unbelievable.
I saw that, yeah.
I mean, that's what this has come to now, Mark. I mean, that is
it's
so
super weird.
Ignorant.
What was hilarious about that tweet, too, is that there was a community note that said, no, neocon is not pejorative for Jew.
I have it.
And
it's from Merriam-Webster. A neocon is not pejorative for someone who's Jewish.
Now, I couldn't find it again. I don't know if it got deleted or something. Again, I'm not anti-war. I was in the military. I'm not like Trump is also very aggressive when I think the right steps have gone through. Right. I think the problem is being anti-absolutism. That's the issue here. And that's the problem with neocons. And they out themselves all the time with all of this absolutist stuff and the same arguments. I was listening to Mark Levin talk about the attack on Iran, and it was the same stuff from 2003. Are we going to let them get a nuclear weapon? We have to attack people before they attack us, like literally all the same arguments. And it's just not the same world. It doesn't work anymore because nobody has. I think people are very good now at spotting inauthenticity, and all of the warmongers, all of the people that control power are having a tough time with that.
If I could thank Donald Trump for one thing he's done among everything that he's done, it's for his stance on just being an anti-war president. Like you said, he's the perfect example of speak softly and carry a big stick, the most famous saying, because he uses it when he needs to, when it's called for, and when it's not called for, like you just said, going to launch attack on a nation because they may or may not be developing nuclear weapons, instead of trying to you know what, Mark? If you speak diplomatically first and you try to handle an issue and it doesn't work, option 2 is always on the table. And it's that option that these neocons want. If you go with option 2 first, the negotiation process is not on the table. Instead, you have World War III, which is nuclear war, which means, pretty much all of us are dead men. Like, what goes through these people's minds? But if you speak the way I'm speaking, you're considered an anti-Semite. I can guarantee everybody on here, I am not an anti-Semite. I love the Jews. I have a lot of Jewish friends, and I love the nation of Israel, right? It's a complete opposite. But by thinking that way, where we don't want war, I don't want our children being sent into war, you have that connotation put with you.
Yeah, and in some ways, Israel probably benefit from this being resolved the correct way. Right. And what it comes down to is, listen, if you're not invested in trying to see option 1 work, then you're going to wind up in option 2. And that's what they all appeared to be going through. And what Donald Trump really said, well, it's like, okay, it's not option 1. It's like options 1 through 10. And those don't really work for prior leaders because they, quite frankly, hated America, didn't perceive America to have value, worshiped foreign governments, weren't willing to ruffle economic feathers in order to see these kinds of deals done. And quite frankly, we're probably stuck in the same type of paradigm that every previous red team, blue team leader has been in. And Donald Trump basically broke that wheel. Man, going back and watching speeches from Romney is like traveling in time the way this guy speaks. It's just part of the DC lexicon. Everything is reform this or policy that. And Trump's like comes in and says, no, this is how we're going to be. We're going to build a wall. We're going to like kill violent drug dealers. We're going to like execute them. Right. You know what I mean? And people say, oh, he's appealing to the masses, or, oh, he's grievance. No, it's literally just like logic and, just a laser focus on like goals. And again, like Business Outsider seem to have worked out for us. And, with a populist platform.
Yeah.
And, they're going to still try and everything, I think, to take him out, but we'll see.
Yeah. Those days are long gone of the war hawks of the party. Donald Trump has sent them all into extinction, hopefully with the rhinos. Folks, if you're joining us on Rumble or Twitter or Facebook, please know we're also on YouTube now, at The Great America Show on YouTube, at The Great America Show on YouTube. We're trying to build this channel up to have all avenues with the maximum amount of people flowing to our channel. So if you can go ahead and follow us on YouTube or start joining us on YouTube, like I said, every night, 6 p.m. Eastern time for The Great America Show, at The Great America Show on YouTube. I think I got it in there enough, right, Mark? At The Great America Show. I want to turn to YouTube. I want to turn to what the audience presumably has been waiting for, and I've been waiting for to get to you. Last time we spoke, we had discussed the psyop that was being run by the mainstream media and pollsters all across the board. And I wish we had Robert Cahaly here with us. Hopefully we will next week to discuss this as well, to get his take on it. But they're lying to us is what I get from it, from reading these polls every single day. Give us what's going on, President Trump's approval rating right now and where it's sitting.
Yeah, I want to reframe this discussion. And we'll put the heavy wood chopping about polls off till next time. But here's the takeaway everybody needs to. People hear words like methodology, or they hear words about accuracy, and we're accurate, and I think our methodology is sound. But what I'm telling you now is that if somebody is framing the conversation that way when they're talking about a mainstream media pollster, they're perpetrating a psyop. Because, listen, I can understand if they underpolled Donald Trump in 2016, and I might even understand how they underemphasized his pickup in support in 2020. But if they fail again in 2024, it's a pattern. And the pattern is they have no intention of showing Donald Trump in a favorable light. And I say they, I'm talking about this cadre of mainstream media pollsters, New York Times, ABC, Washington Post, Reuters, Ipsos, YouGov, Economist, like all the names. Fox News is in there, CNN. And they just underestimate Trump's support, and they do it over and over again. And we've done a lot of analysis and charts on not just Rasmussen, but other good pollsters. Emerson, Harvard, Harris, Big Data Poll, RMG are all putting out polls that vary completely different. And what was really crazy is that 2 weeks ago, on the weekend, headed into Donald Trump's 100 days, all of those bad pollsters dumped horrible polling for Donald Trump right into the weekend news cycle, just so Stephanopoulos could slobber over himself, saying how horrible it was that Trump had the worst polling in 80 years. And it was fake. You could go look at the Real Clear Politics aggregate and you see they dropped a whole bunch of bad polls. They're all rolling off now. And you could see on the chart the exact day that Donald Trump's 100-day was. And that was the day that had all of this fake polling. And so what it comes down to is that Donald Trump's doing a pretty good job, and they hate that. And they're trying everything they can to stop it, including lying to you about even polling and how it works. And Donald Trump's approval, like pretty good today, +6, 52 to 46, approved to disapprove. He's been basically hovering around net approval of about 0 to +1, and I think he's going to stay there. But here's the headline. Record polling, highest numbers we've ever seen in 20 years in all of Rasmussen Report's polling. Donald Trump has a 49% right direction today to a 45% wrong track. That's net +4. Previous record was net +1 a month ago. Prior to that, we had never, ever once seen in all of our polling history right direction exceed wrong track. I'm hearing from other pollsters that are seeing the same thing too. I think Kahali's got really good right direction numbers. Rich Barris does as well. And so Donald Trump is setting records because people, like we talked about this, Trump's platform is more popular than Trump is, and Trump is executing his platform. And people are happy, and the mainstream media has no way to stop it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I want to pull up that on the presidential of the approval ratings that we've got running. Economist YouGov. How can you explain something to me, Mark? I'm going to do math in public real quickly here. It looks like about 7 points off. I mean, that's like double to triple, in some cases quadruple the margin of error for some pollsters.
Scroll down. Scroll down. You got to see it.
I'll pull it up. I mean, how is it possible that we are this far off on?
I'm +5. It says right there. Economist YouGov was -7, but the point is that the Economist YouGov poll was -11 2 weeks ago. They were down there with a whole bunch of people. New York Times was like -12. CNN was -14. ABC News was like -12. And so there were like 12 polls that got dumped all at once. And they were all like -11, 12, 14, like really bad. Yeah, scroll down even farther. Look at that bump on that chart. That is the 100-day mark. Donald Trump, they made Donald Trump underwater 7 points by all of the sudden. And I took all the bad pollsters, and they were averaging about 5 points to the left of me. All of a sudden on that weekend, they were 12 points to the left of me out of nowhere. It was crazy. And if you scroll down even farther, you could see it on the chart. Like this is a list of all of the polls that have, keep going. All of the polls that have dropped out of the aggregate are in white. And look down in the middle of the page there, -11, -10, -12.
The Daily Mail. Oh, my goodness.
So it's like a miracle. Trump had horrible polling for a week in April, and now he's doing great again. It's like, now, like there's noise in the other polling, but when all of those players do it all at once, it's just fake. It's so fake.
How do they keep getting away with it? Who hires them to do these polls?
It's not a matter of competency. That's what I'm saying. It's what all of these organizations want to point out. That's what they want to do. Not a single mainstream media pollster put out an election battleground map that had Kamala Harris losing. Not a single one of them. And even statistically, you'd expect, well, maybe one of them sucked bad enough that they were off to the right and erred in putting Trump ahead, but they wouldn't do it. They literally cannot show an anti-establishment candidate winning. And now look at what's going on with Tillerson Pharma. All of these organizations take massive amount of pharma funding. And it's not just pharma, it's like other corporations as well. But quite clearly, the advertisers have a lot to say, as do, I think there's a layer of access journalism and the revolving door between campaigns. And it happens at the banks too. Equity research analysts often go into finance departments in the big companies and report favorably on each other just because there's a lot of money when all of your interests are aligned. The interests of the wealthy and powerful are aligning together in not the best interest of every other American in the country. That's the war. It's establishment versus anti-establishment. And
you
the establishment people are freaking out right now.
So here we're looking at the right track, wrong track. I was just looking.
Yeah,
at
those numbers are fake too.
Not one pollster, Economist, YouGov, Qantas. How does Qantas Insights have them down -6? That's surprising. Big Data Poll, Emerson, Yahoo, and News Nation. News Nation has them down. First of all, I didn't even know News Nation did polling -18. I mean, how do these people sleep?
Well, that's the thing too, is that you don't like the aggregate drifts and what's in there. Listen, I had right direction underwater 2 or 3 points a week ago. It moves around, right? But it's like -16, -18, -14. If you scroll down, I'm sure there's some like really bad numbers, but yeah, like you got -17,
18, -21. There we go. Reuters Ipsos.
Reuters Ipsos. In the same poll, I guarantee you that they have him underwater on the issue of immigration, which makes no sense. If you go back and look up to the chart, you can kind of see.
Yep.
Look, the highest right direction in the history of this chart here is going all the way back to the beginning of Obama's term. And that's because that's when the mainstream media was happiest. They gaslit this guy into office. They gaslit an open socialist into office, and everybody was so great. And there were all this like new wave, progressive, like rainbow happiness. Everybody's a special snowflake culture. They loved it, and so they put out good right direction polling. Our polling, and listen, again, we're nailing elections, right? And our polling shows that people were happiest in order right now, then in January 2017, and then in February of 2020. Those are the 3 highs.
The crazy thing is we're really not far off from where Obama was, right? 45%, it looks like, 44, 45% right track, 46 maybe.
Yeah.
Donald Trump's even
approval,
with all these fake polls, he's still sitting at around 43%.
I mean, that's still high. Like the average in our numbers for all of Biden's term was, I think, like 30, 31. And he spent a lot of the term in between 25 and 30. So really bad right direction. But then also Donald Trump, from a favorability perspective, kind of polls like Obama. In the beginning of Obama's first term, he had the world's best honeymoon. And a lot of it was everybody thought he was just going to ride in on a unicorn and make the great financial crisis go away. Yeah. And that didn't happen, obviously. But once you scrub those first 6 months, Obama approval in our numbers looks very similar to Trump approval, which is, like he's going to stick around roughly net zero. And in fact, Trump actually outperforms Obama in approval index. And this is getting kind of wonky, but that's strong approve minus strong disapprove. And even though Trump's got a pretty high strong disapprove of roughly about 40 points, he also has true believers. And so he does about 5 points better on average than Obama was doing his whole term too. So it's like they want to paint this guy as the most hated, reviled, dangerous threat to democracy on earth. But it's like it doesn't reflect what America thinks at all. And that's why they're losing their credibility.
Yeah, but the problem is, Marcus, people are still hiring and they're still somehow making money. These people are total mass deceptors of the universe. Yeah. Somehow there's someone out there paying the money. I mean, I guess it's something I'll never understand. There's certain things we'll never know. We'll never understand, like do aliens really exist? My question to that is, are there honest pollsters?
There are honest pollsters and we make no money. Literally like no money. 99% of the money in the industry either goes into like NGO 501c3 USAID funded push polling, or it goes into campaign consulting. There's a lot of money in that business, or it's budget that gets allocated at multi-billion-dollar organizations to put out. Listen, CBS, like it's wild, but their numbers got better once Trump sued them.
Go figure.
Go figure. And so it's so transparent.
Yeah, it's totally a joke. Mark Mitchell, it's always an honor and a pleasure to speak with you. Folks, you can follow Mark on Rumble, YouTube, Rasmussen Reports, on Twitter at Honest Pollster. Mark, you always get the last word here. The floor is yours. Sell me what you want to sell me. Sell the audience what you want to sell, or tell us what you want us to tell.
Yeah, everybody's really happy right now. Don't believe the psyops. Get your media from independent sources. And I'm probably the truthiest independent source about political polling out there. So love to have you as a follower. Rasmussen_poll on Twitter and Honest Pollster on Twitter. And we usually stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern. Sometimes it changes, but we just had a great stream last night and hope to see everybody there tomorrow night.
That's right. You can catch it after the show as a nightcap. Mark Mitchell's
Someday,
poll party. Maybe. Mark Mitchell's poll party, POLL party. All right.
We haven't really run with that yet. Maybe we got to do that. We got to get a panel show, John. Like who goes on our panel?
Someone who won't get us canceled. I think I do a pretty good job every day of almost getting canceled. So someone.
Yeah. Well, we poll on vaccines and government weaponization and election integrity. So we're our own worst enemies from that perspective, for sure.
Guaranteed to get you canceled. Mark, hopefully we'll see you next week. All right, brother?
All right. Later.
Thanks so much. Thanks to Mark Mitchell, folks, and thank you all for being with us today here on the Great America Show. Please be sure to follow Mark on Twitter at Honest Pollster, Rumble, Rasmussen Reports, YouTube, Rasmussen Reports, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. You can catch him after the Great America Show. Folks, we'll see you back here tomorrow, same time, same place, where our quest for truth, justice, and the American way continues against all odds, enemies, haters, all of the above. We'll see you tomorrow. Until then, may God bless you, may God bless America, and may God bless the great Lou Dobbs. Have a great night, everybody.